I'm just thankful that I didn't die. I know it was a pretty bad injury, and it wasn't a great way to end a baseball career. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for what I do have and what the path that it put me on. So. At the time, I was living in Denver, Colorado, and when he got his first hit in the major leagues, he was playing for San Diego Padres against the Colorado Rockies. I was actually at the game when he got his first hit, and I thought that was kind of cool. I don't feel anything but love for Venezuela, for the people, for the country, for the teams that I played for. I'm super happy that I was able to have that experience and get to meet people from a very different culture than I grew up in. I wish that the internet and smartphones and things like that were back in the 90s, because I wish I had more pictures. I wish I had more video to tell my stories, because all I have is lots of good stories.
Les habla Luis Ojo y los invito a suscribirse de gratis en el canal de YouTube de Marco. Muy bueno y con excelente contenido, no se lo pierdan.
Hi, my name is Marcos Grunfeld. Welcome to Beatwriter, my YouTube channel. Today we are making this video in English because we have a special guest. A few years ago, a former MLB pitcher with the Toronto Blue Jays, HUCK FLENER, suffered an accident while he was facing Donaldo Mendez and the Navegantes and Magallanes in the Venezuelan Winter League. A line drive hit in his face and he lost the vision on his right eye. Today, he will share with us his story in our YouTube channel. Before we can start with this interview, I will remember you that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel below the video screen in the red button. If you do that, you can receive the notifications every time that we upload a new video. You also can help us to keep growing in our YouTube channel, subscribing to our Patreon account that you can see the link here below in the video. Now we can start the interview with HUCK FLENER. HUCK, thank you for joining me in the Beatwriter. It's an honor for me to having you today, to know a little bit of your history and everything that you went through after playing here in Venezuela. First of all, what are you doing right now after baseball?
Well, I have an insurance agency, so I sell insurance. I don't know if you're familiar with farmers insurance in the United States, but I have a farmers insurance agency. I've been doing that for several years. I've actually been in insurance one way or another ever since I came home from Venezuela when I got hit and my career was over. Been doing that ever since. I live in Chico, California, which is on the, are you familiar with where California is on the west coast of the United States?
Yes.
And it's kind of the very northern part of California. So I'm about 3 hours from San Francisco and about 8 hours from Los Angeles. Live here with my wife and our youngest son, who is 17. He's a baseball player. And our two older kids are both out and living on their own, have families of their own, and they have 2 kids each. My wife works here at the port. We've been married for 18 years. We got married shortly after I came home. I coach a little bit with the high school team here. They asked me to kind of help them, and I do some of that. I loved coaching Little League when my son was little. That was a lot of fun. So I still try to stay connected to baseball a little bit, but mostly I'm just a dad and a grandfather now. That's what I do.
After the incident in Venezuela, do you ever thought to coach in baseball, in professional baseball? Or why do you decide to run an insurance company?
Well, I did. Toronto offered me a job, and the Cleveland Indians offered me a job, and the Colorado Rockies offered me a job a little bit in their front office as an advanced scout. It was a hard decision to say no, because I would love to stay in baseball because it's so much fun, but I also realized that there's a price for all the travel that's involved. It's very hard to have what I would consider a normal family, where you just stay in one town and you go to work and you come home and you have dinner with your family and you play catch with your kids, and you have little league games, and just like a relatively normal family. If you go into professional baseball to coach, you start right back at the bottom again, right, in the minor leagues, and work your way up the ladder. And that means, 6-8 months away from your family, riding buses, not making a lot of money. It's a great job, I think, that if you're coaching at the major league level. But if you're a minor league coach, and some of those guys need to go to winter ball, right, to coach in Venezuela or Dominican or Puerto Rico, so that they can continue advancing, right? And it was just a point in my life where I think I just wanted to settle down and not travel as much anymore. So I had to find a different job. I didn't decide one day, hey, I want to be an insurance agent. That's not how that happened. But I got offered a job, and I learned, and I liked it, and I was good at it. So I've just been doing it ever since.
Do you miss baseball, Huck?
Oh, I miss it a lot. And I have lots of friends who are either coaches, or there's a few that are general managers now that I played with, and I see them on TV, and it's like, oh, maybe I could be doing that too if I had just, paid the price to do it. But, I think people don't understand the price that those people have to pay to make it that far, right? They are away from their families a lot, and that's hard. And so even though sometimes I'm like, ooh, I wish I could do that, I wouldn't trade it for what I have now. Not at all.
Huck, living in California, 3 hours away from San Francisco, mainly because Los Angeles is a little bit far away.
Yes.
Allow you to go to the Oracle Park frequently, or?
No, Oakland is a little bit closer.
Okay.
And so we probably go to one Oakland A's game a year. Maybe go to a Giants game every other year. I know it's only 3 hours away, but it seems like a great idea, like when we're on the way there. And then we watch the game, and it's a great idea. And then it's 11 o'clock at night, and we have traffic, and we got to drive 4 hours home with traffic, and I have to go to work the next day. It's like, oh, I don't know. So I guess I mostly just watch on TV now. I don't usually go to the ballpark very much.
Talking about Venezuelan baseball, do you remember your first day in Venezuela, and how was it, and how do you decide to came here to play?
Toronto had an agreement with the Cardenales, right? So when the Cardenales wanted 6 or 7 players, usually it was all Blue Jay players that would come down, minor leaguers or major leaguers from the Blue Jays. So in 1993, I had just gotten called up to the major leagues from AA, and you were 6 years old or 7 years old. They asked me to go to Venezuela and to pitch some more, and I was excited. At the time, I didn't have any children, so I wasn't really worried about that. I took a little bit of Spanish in high school, and I thought that I would be able to communicate a little bit, but then I realized that the Spanish that I learned in high school was not Venezuelan Spanish at all. And so that was a little bit hard. I think that as an importado, right, as an American coming in to play, there's the first couple days are actually really exciting because everything is new, right? Everything, the smell of the city is different. I'm staying in a hotel and you're meeting all these exciting people and seeing things for the first time. So the first few days are nice and exciting. And then for about 2 weeks, you hate it. You absolutely hate it because in '93 in Venezuela, you know, there was no cable TV, there was no internet, so after the excitement wore off, you were like, and now you just realize you have to adjust to this whole other culture, and I don't understand anything on TV, and I'm a little bit bored, and what do I do, and where do I go? And so almost every American kind of goes through that. So it was funny when I would go back years later and see people coming for the first time, I would watch them go through that. And I'd say, look, a couple days, very exciting. About 2 weeks, you'll hate it. And then after that, you'll get used to it and you'll like it again. And that is usually what happens. And that I remember that, you know, just, you know, the taxi cabs and the cars honking all the time. People in Venezuela honk their horns so much compared to the United States. So that was kind of funny.
That still happens.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. We used to joke that when Venezuelans go buy a car, the first thing they test is the horn. They test the horn to make sure the horn works.
when the green light, when the red light come to the green light, they took the horn right away.
Oh yeah, the guy like 20 cars back.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Driving in Venezuela was a little interesting. You know, I'm very happy to say that I never had an accident down there. Some of the bus rides were a little bit scary. I will say that. I remember driving home from Caracas to Barquisimeto one night after a game, and these little windy mountain roads, and you know, chickens are running out on the road, and you know, I was like, oh, I can't watch. I thought it was funny when we would fly places and when the planes would land and everybody clapped for the plane lands. You know, I thought that was funny. But mostly what I remember is just, you know, once we started playing games, then it was really exciting for me because I had never experienced fans that loved the game as, you know, maybe a few places in the major leagues, you know, Boston, New York, Baltimore. I never played in St. Louis, but I said St. Louis is like that. That just are so passionate about their teams. But even when it's a small crowd in Venezuela, they're loud and they know the game well, and they appreciate good baseball. And so I like that a lot.
The first year you have a good season here with Cardenales, and then you decide not to come until 1995. Why was that?
Well, the next year after I played in Venezuela, I went to spring training the next year, and I was trying to make the major league team, and I was one of the last players cut. So I went to AAA in Syracuse, and about 1 month into the season, I blew out my elbow and had Tommy John surgery. So I missed all of the '94 season. Well, I pitched for about a month, and then after that, I missed the whole rest of the season. So I didn't play that whole winter. I didn't play until the very following season. And then '95, I went back to AAA. I went to the Arizona Fall League. They asked me to go play there. And after the Arizona Fall League was when the Cardenales asked me if I'd be interested in coming down for the playoffs, or at least for the last part of the season. So I went down there that year. And I believe that was the year that we lost Game 7 at home. And then after we lost Game 7, Magallanes asked if a few of us wanted to go with them to the Caribbean World Series in the Dominican Republic. So I said yes, and I went with the team to Dominican, and that was a lot of fun. But it wasn't, I didn't go in 94 because I didn't want to. I was injured.
How do you remember that final series? That was the year that Jose Francisco Malavé hit the home run, the grand slam. Cardenales were ahead in the series 3-1, and then that grand slam changed everything.
I don't know. I mean, Luis Sojo is a good friend of mine, but that series turned. We were up 3-1. We were playing in Valencia, and we were losing 9-8 in the ninth inning, and we had bases loaded. And I want to say Robert Perez was up, and Luis Sojo was on first base, and he hit a ground ball to second base, and Luis Sojo tried to jump over the ball, and it hit him in the foot, which meant Luis Sojo was out, and all the runners had to go back. So we didn't tie the game. And then the next player was an American named Joe Liss, and he hit one down the first base line. First baseman dove, threw it to the pitcher, out at first base, game over. They win 9-8. That made it 3-2, and now we had to go home to Barquisimeto for 2 games. They beat us 16-1 or something in game 6. And then game 7 was the 2-1 game. I want to say JC something pitched for Magallanes.
Juan Carlos Pulido.
Yes, you're right. Juan Carlos, right. Yeah, he threw a complete game. I can't remember the name of the umpire, but it was that old guy, that really tall old guy. And he got excited, and he, punched out Shannon Stewart. Shannon Stewart went like that. That was it, and he rung him up. So, oh, he swung, no. We're like, oh, no way. Crazy. That team, go ahead.
I was talking to Luis a few days ago, and he said that the team were in the hotel for 3 days, and you say that before the interview.
Well, yes, when we went back home to the hotel that night, like I said, no one in the hotel would talk to us, and the Americans had played pretty well. I thought we played pretty well. I mean, we just got beat, but I think a lot of the people that worked in the hotel were betting on the games, and they were betting that we were going to win, and so they were just upset that they lost money. But I remember one of our teammates, a guy named Tim Crabtree. He had an old birthday cake from like 2 weeks ago that was in his room, and all of us went into his room to like have a piece of this bad birthday cake because that was the only food we could get, because the hotel wouldn't feed us. No one would even talk to us. That was really that kind of hurt. I didn't like that. Wow. I have a good memory to share with you when I was playing in. Trying to think of what year it was. I can't remember what year. Maybe 98 with Magallanes. But I was we were playing in Aragua against the Tigres, and Oscar Azocar was playing first base. And yes, I was playing for Magallanes. That's what it was. Because Edgardo Alfonso was playing third, and he was really playing well at the time. He was in the big leagues and stuff. He had bases loaded in a 2-2 count, and the Tigres threw a good curveball that should have been strike 3, and the umpire didn't call it. And the next pitch, Edgardo hit a grand slam, and it turned the game around. And Oscar Azocar walked to the mound, and everybody knows Oscar Azocar, right? He's, played in Venezuela for 50 years or whatever, right? He's like, 100 years old. He played forever. And the umpire behind home plate was an American. And he was new to Venezuelan baseball, and he didn't know the rules. You don't throw Oscar Azocar out of the game, right? Everybody, all the players know you don't throw Oscar Azocar out of the game. Well, Oscar Azocar starts yelling at him, and then we see the umpire take off his mask and start yelling at him, and all of us were like, no, don't throw him out. And then the umpire throws him out of the game, and we're like, oh, this is terrible. They threw all the beer bottles from the entire stadium onto the field.
Wow.
The whole infield was brown with beer bottles. And they were throwing rocks and ice at the umpires, and I don't know if the stadium in Aragua is the same way now. But it'd say, okay, so we went and hid. I was in the bullpen. We went and hid underneath the bleachers, and we just stayed there for about 45 minutes until they were done throwing stuff on the field. And then me and a couple other guys were like, okay, do you think it's safe? And we just like ran in there real quick so we didn't get hit. But I'll never forget that. That was very funny.
As a foreign player, how was for you to live that kind of moment, because you don't see that in the United States.
You don't see that in the United States. I was glad nobody was hurt, but once nobody was hurt, I thought it was kind of I mean, I've never seen anything like that, so it makes for a great story. I just thought it was funny that we all knew what was happening except for this umpire who was, you know, an American who didn't really know that you can't throw Oscar Zokar out of the game. You can't do that. And so that's what makes for a good story. And he learned his lesson. That umpire learned his lesson. You can't throw out Oscar Zokar. You can't throw out Luis Sojo, right? There's certain guys you just cannot throw out of a game. And, you know, Bobby Abreu, you know, you can't throw those guys out. That's everybody comes to watch those guys, you know. Kind of funny.
Okay. You received, after your experience in Magallanes, you received an offer from Caribes, but from your experience in Magallanes and your experience in Caribes, you spent 3 years without baseball here in Venezuela.
Right.
Why do you decide to wait so long to came back to Venezuela?
Well, it kind of depended on, well, the first time was because I was injured. And then I came back again. And then the next year, I actually played the second half of the season in the major leagues. And I actually made enough money to where, for the first time in my life, I could just take some time off. And so I was living in Arizona at the time, and I just took that off season to give my arm a rest and to just, and I had a little minor surgery on my elbow that was from my first surgery to get some bone chips out. And so it wasn't major surgery, but at the same time, I just decided, hey, I'm just going to take 3 or 4 months and take care of my body and try to get better. I did the next year, I think 97, I think a team from the Dominican offered me good money to go play in the Dominican Republic. And I hated that. That was, you know, Venezuela is way more fun to play than Dominican to me. I don't know. The people were so much nicer in Venezuela, so much. The baseball was very good both places, obviously. Very tough, good players in both places. But I'm trying to think what happened. In 98, I came back to Venezuela. And 99, I want to say I played in Venezuela again. So, I mean, I was usually playing. There was never either I was injured or I needed a rest. But it wasn't because I didn't want to play there.
Do you remember if you pitched in a Caracas Magallanes game? And how do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I pitched in that a lot. So the year that I played for Magallanes, I was a relief pitcher, and my job usually was to come in to face Bobby Abreu and Roger Cedeno, right? So if it was 7th or 8th inning and they were coming up, that was my job to come face those guys, because Bobby hit left-handed and Roger hit both ways. So he was a switch hitter, right? So he would turn around, hit right-handed. And I pitched against them pretty much every time we faced them. And those games were crazy, right? That's kind of like the Red Sox Yankees in the United States was the Caracas Magallanes games. The first time that we played for Magallanes in Caracas, I went to go do running like before the game. And I didn't know that you don't do that in Caracas if you play for Magallanes. And so I started doing running, and the whole team was watching me because they knew. And nobody told me at all, right? So I start running around the outfield, you know, like before batting practice, just to get my running in. And by about center field, I'm getting hit with so much stuff, you know, bottle caps and rocks, and they're throwing stuff at me and cups. everything else, that I just stopped and I came running back across the field, and the whole team was laughing. They're like, bah! Because I didn't know that you couldn't do that in Caracas. No, you stay on our side and that's it. You don't run over there. You know, Bobby Abreu, I knew Bobby from the United States too. I played against him in Venezuela for years, and you know, so I knew him a little bit. And because I always got brought in to face him, you know, we had kind of a mutual respect thing. He's such a good player, and you know, he got hits off of me more times than I'm happy about. But I got him out sometimes too. But I'll forget pitching against Bobby in Caracas. If he did not swing, it was a ball. It didn't matter where you threw it. And I remember facing him one time that I threw a slider right down the middle, first pitch. Catcher catches it right in the middle, ball. Okay, so now it's 1 ball, no strikes. I throw another slider, bam, right down the middle. Catcher catches it right in the middle, ball, 2-0. And I walk halfway to home plate, and I'm telling the umpire, I said, look, you can't give Bobby a 2-0 count. I said, what are you doing? I said, what am I? And Bobby Abreu was laughing. He was like, because he knew they were both strikes. And I was like, well, do you want me just to walk him? I guess I'll just walk him if you want me to. I said, I can't. What do you want me to do? And the umpire's like, no. I said, those are strikes, man. Let's go. And whatever.
You came to play with Caribes and Cardenales. Draft you, I guess, in the playoff for the playoff refuerzos. How was that moment?
You know, life-changing, obviously, because it ended my baseball career. But, you know, it wasn't as bad as I think sometimes people think. I mean, I didn't know that I lost my eye. I didn't know that it broke my nose. It broke all the bones in my face. And I didn't have a fake eye yet. So I had to have like a pirate patch for, 6 months for a while. And then I finally got a prosthetic eye to go in there. But, I remember laying on the ground and wondering where the ball was, because it was bases loaded. I came in to face someone and it was bases loaded. So I remember thinking, where's the ball? Where's the ball? I did see that there's a video on the internet of it in like slow motion. You can kind of see it. And it was weird when I watched that video for the first time, because I'm just kind of lying there on the ground, and that's not what I remember. I remember walking off the field, and I remember all my teammates kind of looking at me to try to see what was wrong. And, I remember getting loaded into the ambulance, and the ambulance guys hit my head on the door, and then they dropped me, and I was like, oh! And so I go to the hospital, and what really made me love the people of Venezuela was because I had played for the Cardenales and for Magallanes. Both general managers and their wives and their staff, all of them from both teams were in the emergency room with me. So they both teams, and that meant a lot to me. The doctors and everybody were talking about my situation in Spanish, and they didn't realize that I spoke decent Spanish, and so they were talking about me in Spanish. And I remember that do you know Humberto Oropesa from the Cardenales? Yeah. Okay. Humberto asked me, he says, do you want to make a phone call home? Because sometimes those games are on TV back home too. And I said, yeah, let me call my wife because I want to let her know that I'm okay. And he said, okay. And he said, what's the number? And I gave it to him really fast in Spanish. And the whole room went quiet, right? Like, oh, he speaks Spanish. And so, because they were talking about me like I didn't understand what they were saying. And I understood what they were saying. And after that, they just went to the corners of the room so they could talk about me behind. But that first night was hard, and then I know that the people in the hospital did the very best they could to do what they could. And when I got 10 days later, when I flew back to the United States, I went right to the hospital there, and they said that under the circumstances, they thought that the doctors did a pretty good job of what they there was no way to save my eye. It had blown the back part of my eye out, so there was no way to fix it. But you know, at the same time, it's one of those things where everything happens for a reason. I don't know if you believe that. Before that happened, I never believed that before. But that path led me to not playing baseball anymore, and then moving back to California. And my wife and I we were probably going to get a divorce even before that happened, because I wanted a family and she didn't want kids. And so we were kind of splitting up. I went back to California and met a girl that I knew from my high school days, and met her, and we've been married for 18 years now, and we have a son together. So if that doesn't happen, then all those things for me don't happen. So I'm just thankful that I didn't die. You know, I know it was a pretty bad injury, and it wasn't a great way to end a baseball career, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for what I do have and what the path that it put me on. So I don't really feel that bad about it at all. Do you know Donaldo Mendez?
Yeah. I don't know him personally, but I watch him.
He's the one who hit the ball.
Yeah.
And he came to see me in a hospital, and he felt so bad. And I knew he was a very good player and that he was kind of a prospect on his way up. And I did my best to tell him. I said, hey, it's not your fault. I said, it's just bad luck. I said, you know, please don't let this stop you. You know, I'm rooting for you. I hope you're going to be the best player you can be too. And so at the time I was living in Denver, Colorado. And when he got his first hit in the major leagues, he was playing for San Diego Padres against the Colorado Rockies. I was actually at the game when he got his first hit. And I thought that was kind of cool. That, you know, but the people down there, they took care of me as best they could, and I have nothing but good things to say about it.
In what exact moment do you find out that you lost your eye?
It happened right away, but I thought I just had something in my eye. Okay. You know, I knew that I broke my nose. I knew it broke all the bones because I kind of heard it. When I tell people that it didn't hurt, they don't believe me. But your brain just turns off all the nerves, right? So, I mean, I had a concussion, so I was kind of, I didn't really understand what was going on very well. I knew when I was in the hospital and the doctors were talking about me, I could hear them talking about my eye and how that was probably not coming back. So I kind of knew that my career was over right there. When I got back to the United States, the doctors looked at it there, they said, well, we can't do a transplant on that, it's over, that's it. That's what I knew for sure. So it was pretty quick.
How difficult was for you to end your baseball career in that way?
Well, good and bad, right? Because sometimes I think players play too long sometimes, especially left-handed pitchers, right? We think that we're always going to keep going. We're always going to make it back to the big league. We're always going to get there. And, I don't know how long I would have continued to play. And, maybe I would have got back to the big leagues, maybe not. But at the same time, that decision was made for me. And it was time for me to move on to the next chapter of my life. And that transition was a little bit hard at first, but now it's put me in the position where I am today. And I'm actually very grateful that my life has ended up where I am now. So I'm good.
And I'm happy. I'm really happy that you are good. I'm watching you, and it's amazing that after all, you are looking very good. You went through to a very bad moment, and you right now have your own company of life insurance.
I have nothing but love for the people of Venezuela. From the first year that I was there until the last day that I was there, I got treated very, very well down there. I wish that it was not quite as dangerous, because I would love to take my family down there. I would love to show them the stadium in Caracas and go to Barquisimeto and go to Valencia. I would love to do that. Right now, I don't feel like I could take my family down there. I think it would be very dangerous to do that, especially with the relationship between the United States and Venezuela is not good. I don't feel anything but love for Venezuela, for the people, for the country, for the teams that I played for. I'm super happy that I was able to have that experience and get to meet people from a very different culture than I grew up in. I wish that I could bring people like you or to here, right, to experience what it's like to live in the United States. I wish that the internet and smartphones and things like that were back in the 90s, because I wish I had more pictures. I wish I had more video to tell my stories, because all I have is lots of good stories, which I won't ever forget. And my son loves hearing about them. But he says, well, that sounds really scary. And I said, well, a little bit, but not too much. But mostly it's good baseball stories and lots of friends. And, like I said, I wish I could go back. I would love to. The Cardenales brought me back for the ring ceremony.
Okay.
The next year. So in 2001, of 2001, they flew me back down for the ring ceremony.
Okay.
They won the championships the year before. So that was the last time I was in Venezuela. I got something else for you here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's my player card.
Wow.
Gotta keep that. You never know when I might need that, so I gotta keep that. Let's see what else do I got here. Do I have any Venezuelan baseball cards? I don't. I do somewhere. I'm not sure where.
What did you learn about everything that you went through after the incident?
Well, I learned I think everybody in life at times has something bad happen to them, that you can choose how you react to those things happening to you. Right now, millions of people are having to deal with living at home and not being able to go out and not being able to see your girlfriend for 2 months or 3 months or something like that is very hard, right? And so there are times in our lives where I was not ready to quit baseball. I was not. My arm felt good. I was pitching pretty well. I think I had a chance to get back to the major leagues, and then bam, not only is my baseball career over, but I look different, and it's going to take. I have to learn how to drive a car all over again, and I have to get a whole new job. But I'm very blessed. There's people that have lost a lot more than me. So I think the lesson is that the sooner that you stop feeling sorry for yourself and you move on to whatever is next, the better off you are going to be, and the better off the people around you will be too. So I'm fairly proud that I was able to kind of adjust my life and move on. But I know that that's a hard thing for people to do. So I'm proud of myself for that.
When was the last time that you spoke with Donaldo?
Donaldo Mendez?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him in person since he came to visit me in the hospital.
Wow.
But he's actually a friend of mine on Facebook. So once in a while we will talk on Facebook. I think he lives in the San Diego area somewhere now.
I'm not sure.
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a friend on Facebook. That's what's kind of cool about Facebook, is you can have friends anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
I have other people from Venezuela that are my friends on Facebook that will send me messages sometimes. So maybe I don't get to talk face to face like this, but I get to keep in touch a little bit.
That's great, Huck. Thank you very much for your time, Huck. I know that you have to go, and thank you for your time and for sharing all these memories with me and your story with me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to think about those stories, because I haven't thought about them in a while, so it's fun for me too. So thank you.
Thank you for watching this video with HUCK FLENER. I hope that you enjoyed a lot, because I did, and I hope that you enjoyed the message that we delivered with this video. My name is Marcos Grunfeld. Thank you for watching The Beatwriter, my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You have the red button below the video screen. Please hit the red button and then hit the bell notification button to receive the notifications every time that we upload a new video. If you have the the opportunity to do that, please subscribe to my Patreon channel. You have the link below and in the description box below the video screen. If you want to receive a mention in a future video, please mention us in any of your social media account. You have to take a screenshot of any of our videos and then put in any of the stories of your social media account and tag us to and know that you tag us, and then we're going to mention you in the final part of that future video. Here you have a button where you can subscribe to our Patreon channel and receive some benefits and watch some exclusive content of our YouTube videos. If you can do that, please subscribe. Here you have a button where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please stay tuned to our YouTube channel. You have here 2 videos to keep watching the Beatwriter. I hope that you enjoy this episode.